Good morning, everyone. This is a fantastic crowd. I'm so very excited and so very thankful each of you for showing up today. My name is Nick Markham. I'm the investment lead and a venture partner at the Jobtech Alliance, based here in Nairobi. My role is primarily to develop investment theses across the future of work in Africa, then go out and scout and pipeline some of the best platforms on the continent for Jobtech Alliance to work with, support, with venture support as well. But before we start, I think it'd be a really fascinating and great opportunity to introduce four amazing panelists to join me up on stage today. So if you would, going down the line, if you could just give your name, organization, and a quick intro into how your work intersects with AI and livelihoods.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Serena. I work for Shortlist, and my job is leading the GALE program. We stand for Gender and AI Livelihoods Program. It's a research program that we are driving with the Gates Foundation, and our objective is to identify the most promising generative AI use cases that are impactful to improve the livelihood of low-income women in sub-Saharan Africa.
Hi everyone, my name is Phil Giorgio. I launched a company called Robin 3 months ago, and so it only takes you about 3 months of AI to be smart enough to be on the stage. So it's quite a low bar actually. Robin is an AI services company, though I did set it up to help create work in Africa, so that might sound contradictory. But essentially, by creating an AI services company, I'm trying to figure out what is the human-in-the-loop role, how do we define the human-in-the-loop role, and how do we sell AI systems that embed the human-in-the-loop so that we can make sure those jobs come to Africa.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Jonathan Beardsley. I'm head of digital livelihoods at Genesis Analytics. Before that, I was managing director at Cloud Factory Kenya, which is an AI data services company. At Genesis, through our digital livelihoods program, we basically design and implement interventions to unlock employment for youth, primarily through what I'm sure I'll talk about a bit, but primarily through unlocking global demand, which is often the missing link.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Chambade. I work with Razi as a vice president for community and engagement. And what we do is we are an AI market intelligence platform, providing hyperlocal insights to businesses looking to expand, learn about consumers globally. And my role there is to oversee our global operation and consumer network. Currently, over 2 million consumers on our platform across 100 countries. So yeah, pretty much that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So I'd like us, oh God, that's sound awfully echoey. I'd like us to start with a simple truth, that AI is coming for each and every one of your jobs. 41% of employers say they expect to downsize in the next 3 years because of it. Not in 10 years, in the next 3. And here in Africa, we really don't get the opportunity to opt out. So over the past 18 months, as AI has become front page news, the world has debated what it means for society, elections, for education. But most of those conversations have circled around New York, London, and San Francisco. And that's not where the story ends. In fact, Africa may be the place where the real impact of AI on jobs gets decided. You know, our continent has an incredibly young, educated workforce, widely untapped markets, and a habit of leapfrogging the old playbooks. And in our portfolio, we now have 44 companies in our Jobtech portfolio. We're already starting to see the shift. Customer support roles have halved. Sales agents completely replaced, and entire workflows have been rebuilt with new AI systems. And at the same time, new income streams have opened up for users on these platforms. New data gigs, AI-enabled services that let one founder operate like 10. So I think the question here today is no longer whether AI will destroy jobs, because it already has. I think the real question that we'll try and dig into is will we design the next wave of work, or will Africa be designed out of it? So today, this panel will help us name some of the jobs already at risk. We'll spotlight the ones being born, and talk seriously about what kind of platforms, skills, and policies can help tip the balance in Africa's favor. And I'd like us to start by zooming out. before we get into Nairobi and Lagos, I want us to look at a global picture. So with AI reshaping how work is bought, sold, and delivered across borders, Africa is not just getting to set the pace of AI adoption across the globe. Global demand chains are. And that means African platforms are being pulled into very new systems. So I'd love to briefly start with our panel with one sharp headline from each of you. So what's the most disruptive work shift that you've seen AI trigger this year? Something real, not theoretical.
I would say just using Gemini recently as well. Like I would say that and there was a report that just came out from Axios that 50% of white-collar jobs are going to disappear in the next couple of years. But I would say if it's recent, if it's this year, the researchers, synthesis, all that stuff, right? You can do that in a couple of minutes now. So if you're coming out of getting your master's and you want to go into consulting or whatever it is, I mean, it's just your job is going to change so much. There's still need for fact checkers and that kind of stuff, but just that amazing ability, and notebook LM, just the amazing ability to just synthesize very, very quickly, and it affects, I would say, that affects more white-collar workers, but.
Yeah, so for me, I think the structure of jobs is changing completely, right? So the question today is, will AI kill all jobs? The question I'd ask this audience, if you thought about every white-collar person that works in your organization, I think every one of their jobs is dead. And the reason I say that is if you rehired them, you would write a new job description. You wouldn't hire them with the same job description they have today. And that's why sort of the job structure is a really interesting way to think about it. You need to go to the next level down. Jobs are a set of work is a set of workflows, a workflow is a set of tasks. And I think the companies that are getting ahead of AI, and this is a global question, not just an African question, are the ones that understand the workflows that are being disrupted and changing job descriptions the fastest. There are new jobs being created, there's going to be more fractional work. And so I think, yes, every single white-collar job is different to what it was yesterday. And what's scary is you might write a different job description tomorrow. So you need to stay on edge about what job descriptions mean these days. And that's why I think if you think at a work level or a workflow level, you will understand the change much better than at a job level.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to highlight is the fact that AI is automating a lot of repetitive tasks, which ultimately impacts entry-level jobs, as it was already mentioned, but also low-income jobs. So it's really important to see exactly how we can bring concrete solutions to answer those challenges. And then additionally, there is also a capability overhead in the sense that today, even if we stop building AI, the disruptiveness of AI will continue. We haven't figured out yet what are all the use cases that AI can be used for. So we really need to consider that the change and the disruption will continue and will be quite significant.
Something I've noticed for me, it's the speed of change. Every week there's a new model coming through and whatnot. But practically, just looking at 5 years ago, how we were managing our consumer network and how we're doing it now is very different. But also we're noticing the adoption of AI across Africa is very different from places like India or South America or the US. We still have to do a lot of hand-holding across certain markets in Africa, even though we do have an AI assistant on the platform to support you through your initial onboarding sessions. But it's very quick if you're onboarding a consumer from the US. So I still see, I don't think we're moving as fast as the changes are happening, even though everybody's adopting with the new models that keep coming up every other time. I feel like we're not, especially for Africa, we're not moving as fast as we ought to compared to other markets that are slightly more tech adaptive. Yep.
Yeah, at the Jobtech Alliance, we've actually tracked 46 live AI pilots across our portfolio in just the last quarter. Some have crashed spectacularly, some have paid the rent. A few have unlocked entirely new income streams for users on platforms. So I'd like us to get a little bit more specific, and I'd like each of you to give us a fresh example where AI has directed added value to a worker's income on a platform. What was the original human task? What did the AI layer change? And how much did the platform earn because of it? And I'll start to the right of me with Serena. Serena, where are you seeing the most practical, high-impact AI use cases that are boosting jobs and livelihoods right now across Africa?
Yeah, so first of all, personally, I think that the most transformative use cases are the ones that meet end users into their daily life and through the technology that they use today. So as you all know, entrepreneurship is booming in Africa. 1 in 5 Africans is an entrepreneur or has launched a company before. And most of these businesses are part of the informal sector and are also led by women. So what we are trying to achieve at Gale is actually try to find concrete solutions that meet actually women where they are, by also channeling like solutions through the technology they use. And one concrete great enabler that we see is WhatsApp. We are partnering with companies that are building AI chatbots that actually help women automate their sales, which ultimately allow women to also attend other important tasks for their family. Another concrete use case is a company we are collaborating with that is helping small micro artisans sell their products on the global market by allowing them to take pictures of the goods they are trying to sell. AI improves the image, improves the background, makes the background more appealing, provides a description of the product, translates the description of the product in multiple languages, and ultimately give the artisan an additional platform where they can sell their product at a fair price. Another example that I would like to give is how much we see potential in training personalization. We see that there is, through AI, the possibility of really answering key questions of small entrepreneurs, low-income entrepreneurs, and helping them really, like that, improve their business and increase their livelihood. So overall, what we are trying to achieve through Gale is really testing and scaling those solutions, see the ones that are most promising, and share that knowledge with the wider ecosystem to improve and encourage adoption of those solutions to touch even more people.
Amazing. So I'll pass this on to the next question to JB. So JB, you've studied and produced some incredible insights into the BPO sector across Africa. So what's one example that you've seen where an African BPO has not just survived AI, but used it to move up the value chain? What role did they play and what made it possible?
Yeah, I mean, allow me to give a couple. I mean, for some people in the room, what I'm about to say is familiar. I mean, you want to be a human in the loop, right? I mean, I think the big takeaway from that study, was really that you want to be actually close to the work itself. And if you are, when a shock like Meta's segment anything model comes in, then you actually have people that are, they're polishing up, they're doing QA for that last bit. I was just talking to Execo, and they have humans in the loop. I guess lawyers are also humans. They have lawyers in the loop, and so the closer that you are to what's actually happening on the demand side, the better. AI data services is also, it's a small portion of the African GBS market, but it's growing really, really fast. The other example that comes to mind, and it seems kind of obvious, but they've just done a really nice job connecting supply and demand, is a company called InGen in Ghana, where they're deploying engineers from Ghana to work in Switzerland and Israel and Poland and other places to actually build to operationalize machine learning models. So they're connected. Yeah.
Brilliant. So Phil, what's one AI-enabled service that your SME clients are now paying for that didn't exist a year ago? Could Could you walk us through how your sidekick plus AI combo delivers it?
Yeah, sure. So to understand a company's workflows and to unlock opportunity for Robin, we came up with a fancy name. We call it the value discovery process. We'll go into a company and say, we want to find value. And you'll be surprised how many companies don't really understand all their workflows, haven't process mapped their workflows. And because we want global clients bringing work from global clients to Africa, we'll go look in the US and the UK for these kind of clients. And by understanding people's workflows, it's much easier for us to then go and pitch a very personalized solution for that client. What we found is a lot of our clients were having a very similar challenge where there's a lot of value in AI, where it helps you capture knowledge, warehouse knowledge, and turn that knowledge into content. AI is very good at that. But you need to know how to capture the right knowledge, how to warehouse it, and how to teach the AI to turn that into content that sounds like your content and not just AI content. So we're realizing that's a very common use case. And so because we're seeing it a lot of times, it's something that we're sort of productizing, and something that Robin wants to do is, as we learn more workflow issues that we see across multiple customers, we'll say, hey, this is a problem many people have. Now we can productize it. I think someone called it you do AI consulting as a Trojan horse for a product company. So now I can talk about it more in a second when the next question comes. But essentially what we're doing is we're helping bring humans in the loop into companies that will manage their knowledge and their content. And the CEO or the head of comms or the head of knowledge doesn't have to worry about being at the cutting edge of AI. Robin is providing the cutting edge of AI, and with a human they can call to make sure it's working.
So I suppose the last one on this theme is to you at the end there, Richard. And RASI's mappers are quite literally everywhere on this continent. So what's one specific way that AI has helped you scale both the quality and quantity of work on the platform that simply couldn't have been done 5 years ago?
The bigger one is support, because initially we used to do a lot of one-on-one engagement with our new mappers or consumers. Which has tremendously changed with intro. So we introduced Ella as a version of AI support, and basically what Ella does is you can prompt Ella on any question related to either the mapping activities or any other spheres of interest as a consumer. And that changed our efforts in terms of the efforts we're putting towards support for our consumers that were out collecting data or interacting with the platform. But also beyond that, the other part is the quality assurance, because now we have AI agents synthesizing data and doing part of our QA process to ensure that we do it faster, way faster than we used to do it 5 years ago, which means our consumers are able to hear back from us faster in terms of, okay, if I visited a store to audit a certain product, and the data within the app is showing you whether it's pending QA or it's been approved or declined, you're able to get back fast feedback as opposed to waiting for 72 hours 5 years ago. Now we're, within pretty much a few hours, you're able to know the answer, whether what you did was correct or not. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So I think what we see often talked up in the room is opportunity is real in Africa, but so is, of course, the AI steamroller. So we are recently published, and we're going to start disseminating it post the summit, is a digital work sector scan, going deep into the digital work sector at the Jobtech Alliance. And it showed that clerical tasks, where a lot of women cluster, are up to 20% more automatable than many tech founders have admitted. So I think we owe the room as a group a clear view of the AI cliff edge that we're standing on. So in roughly 4 minutes each, I think I'd like each of us to explore which job family in Africa loses ground first, why, and more importantly, what some of the design choices that can pull the workers and the platforms back from that cliff edge. And I'll start with you, JB. So you've worked with governments, donors, and many delivery platforms. Based on what you're seeing, what's the most vulnerable class of work that African platforms are still betting on? And what's the one smart design shift that we could make today to kind of smooth that collapse?
Sorry, did you say what's the most valuable?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what's the second one?
Well, so what's the most vulnerable class of work?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's a design shift that we could do to bring us back from the edge?
Most valuable. I mean, look, I think my heart is with all the young people that are about to enter the workforce. But you asked about what's most valuable. And creating jobs for the entry-level work is incredibly valuable, and that the bar needs to be, it has been raised for that, and so more training is needed. But I guess I would go back to what I said earlier a little bit with a twist. I mean, I think probably cybersecurity and centers of excellence around cybersecurity, around AI safety, is just going to become critical because we're just moving at such pace now. So that's probably, if I was going to start something, with African talent, I would probably pick people that had, already some experience, already had some certifications, and operationalize some kind of a center of excellence for, and productize it with groups of teams, like similar to what Tana does and others. That's probably where I would go. Yeah, keep it short.
Great. So Serena, if you just grab the mic there. What practical barriers keep women in sub-Saharan Africa from actually using AI in their work today? And which one do you think people in this room should help tackle first?
So I think for low-income women, the barriers that we see is, first of all, the cost of connectivity and also the cost of devices, which really creates kind of a blocker for adoption of AI. But also, most importantly, is the fact that most of the solutions that are built today are built in Western languages, not considering also the local context. So I think in terms of practical solution, what we can start building is solutions that can be used into 2G networks, but also capabilities that support local languages, both in terms of voice, but also text conversations. And then one additional key levers that we need to address is the fact that most of the applications and LLMs today are not built with women in mind from the start. So what could be really valuable is the fact of integrating low-income data from the jump by asking women what exactly they need and what are the key data that are essential to integrate in those solutions. One way to achieve that is basically once you are actually serving already that group of women, perhaps compensate those women to give you context engineering, data validation, bias audits, even though it can be basic, but this is already a great step to integrate valuable data that will actually really tackle key needs of those women. And I think that is crucial to really bring innovative solutions for that specific target.
Amazing, thank you. So Phil, you're getting closer and closer to SME operations. What's the one specific back office task that you're seeing generative AI absorbing first?
Yeah, I mean, absorbing with a human in the loop, I hope. So that's something that we really believe that the human in the loop needs to be there. But what we're seeing when we talk to customers is there are a lot of people out there. Let's say you've got a head of comms. The head of comms is quite confused about how to achieve the next objective. They might decide they want to hire a new comms associate, but they know that they shouldn't really be hiring full-time people right now. Or they think they should pay a lot of money for a new software, a new AI tool. But then they're like, do I have to manage the AI tool? Do I know how to manage that AI tool? Yes, it's self-service, but do these tools automatically understand my context? So what we're trying to do at Robin is provide people a third way, a third option. You don't have to choose a full-time human. You don't have to choose a full-time self-service system. You can choose Robin in the loop, a human in the loop that's powered by our own proprietary set of AI agents. And the goal we have, at least in the comms world, which is what I'll talk about now, is that we could almost, as Robin, apply for a comms associate role. So someone in New York is hiring for a comms associate, we will apply. And rather than paying us $70,000 a year, you can pay us $20,000 a year. You'll get a human in the loop for 1 or 2 days a week, and you will get Robin's set of AI systems that will do comms for you. And when we show some clients that situation, it does seem to make a lot of sense to them. It's an AI-first solution with a human they can call, a human they know, a human that's going to get to know them. And the Robin systems will be personalized to that company. So that's the business model we're trying. It's kind of a new third way of merging systems and humans into one integrated solution. Because I think the future of outsourcing is going to be an integrated solution. It's not about a human in a seat. And then I also want to believe that there's going to be many situations where it's not just a self-service software. So what is the middle ground between a self-service software and a human in the seat? That's kind of what Robin's trying to pioneer as a solution, and communications is a natural place, because as we know, AI is particularly good at communication if it's given the right personalization, understands the right context, has access to the right kind of knowledge, which is what Robin's focusing on for its first product.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So Richard, as the last one on this list, if shelf scanning and computer vision become perfect in the next few years, what role inside of your field force disappears? And what do you think you could kind of redesign today to protect all those mapper incomes?
I'm not sure if anything disappears for us yet, because a lot of clients are very interested in talking to consumers as much as possible on a regular basis. And what we're currently already doing is, from the client's perspective, we already have AI copilots, Senna and Lumora. And what Senna does is just basically consolidate all the data, the raw data for the client, because we found that, let's say, for example, one of our clients, JTI in Tanzania, looking to track, audit a certain product across 5,000 stores across 2 weeks or 4 weeks. They get the data, but they also have a problem of figuring out what's happening, because they don't want to go through every shop listing and things like that. So what Senna does is synthesize the data and give you the core aspects of what's happening to your stores. And you're able to figure out things like share of shelf, positioning, and Lumora. What Lumora does is figure out the gaps so that you're able to know where the gaps are and you're able to fix those. And from a consumer perspective, as our consumer base continues to grow, we have Ella, which is still an AI copilot. And what we're evolving with Ella is to allow consumers benefit from the value of the summary that Ella is supposed to provide should they upload an image, let's say, of their fridge. They're able to figure out, oh, am I eating healthy, or do I need to spend a little bit more on different things? Or if you upload, let's say, your budget, Ella would, based on your profile, will be able to show you potentially where to buy, your product or your produce based on your previous consumer behavior. So I do see probably more additional benefits as opposed for a disappearance in that regard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. So I think it's probably a good opportunity to shift gears a little bit and just clarify for the room that our thesis at Jobtech is pretty clear. Hybrid beats AI. Human-in-the-loop models are where the jobs get protected and sometimes invented. But hybrid doesn't just scale on goodwill alone. It scales when capital, skills, and policy align fast enough to matter. So I had a challenge for the 4 panelists, and it's a hypothetical. Imagine that following this panel, I wire you $10 million each tonight, be it grant, equity, whatever moves fastest, and you have 12 months to prove that Africa can really win in the age of AI. What's the single lever you would pull, skills, infrastructure, or policy, and what's the KPI that would prove that you were right? And I'll start with you, Phil. Where do you put every dollar of that $10 million to protect or create jobs? And what metrics tells you if that bet has worked?
I never knew it was hypothetical. I thought I was on this panel to try win the $10 million. But look, I think I like to have mental models to understand how the world's changing, and it is obviously changing very fast. Essentially, AI has allowed knowledge work to be mechanized, right? So typically, things that come out of factory was not knowledge, it's things. Suddenly, there's a factory that creates knowledge and words. And so there becomes a question about who's building the best factories and the best machines that churn out knowledge. And then who's building the best factories and machines that churn out knowledge and content for you, that really suits you as an organization. So when I think of the world like that, there's kind of like a bit of a manufacturing race to see who's going to be controlling these factories. And one person can say, well, maybe it's the LLMs that are the factories, but I think we've seen that a lot of the value isn't just in the model, it is in the prompting, it is in the interconnections of the AI agents, it is in the wrapper. And so I think there is definitely a race to be in different workflows, to be the winner in different workflows as the factory. And so I think that's, when I say where does 10 million go, well, let me say one other thing. I think if you think about outsourcing 1.0, if I'm allowed to call outsourcing previously 1.0, and now we're in outsourcing 2.0, one of the biggest difference in my mind is 1.0 outsourcing didn't need to own the tech stack. You just sold a seat. And the client, let's say it's JetBlue, will tell you you have to use this software when you answer the JetBlue phone. I think outsourcing 2.0 will be tech stack plus human. You can't, as a future outsourcing company, say I'm not going to make a choice on tech stack. Now you can build your own tech stack or you can partner with someone else's tech stack, but you have to sell the integrated solution because the hybrid solution will work when you're excellent at the software and the humans and you bring in the right humans at the right moment. Therefore, if I was given $10 million, I would build the factories, or at least figure out which factories to partner with. And I would make sure that my organization really understood how to make that factory work for different organizations. So at least for Robin at the moment, we don't have $10 million, but we would be building a lot of AI agents, integrating them and making them highly personalizable and making sure the humans could do a great job of running those AI agents in different places, communications, HR, etc.
Great. So I'll move on to Serena next. So Serena, from your years advising European tech firms at BCG, what's the lesson you think that we should steal and one mistake that we must avoid as African platforms move into AI? And then also, if you were deploying that $10 million here, what would you fund?
So in terms of what are the things that we can copy from European companies, is definitely the fact that, in my perspective, one good thing that they do is really try first to master the context where they are in and address the concern and need of that specific context, solidify that specific expertise before starting scaling in additional countries. So I think that is definitely a good strategy because it gives them a great competitive advantage that is difficult to copy. So here African founders can really put really a focus on their context, on their community, strengthen that knowledge to build like a competitive advantage that is really difficult to copy. In terms of things to avoid, I think one thing to avoid is only build for fiber networks, obviously, because it will not be targeting a lot of people on the continent. Try to also avoid only building application on Western languages, and also pay fair wages to the employees, because ultimately those are the ones that will be driving the growth of the startups. So overall, I think at Gale, that is exactly what we want to achieve. We want to find solutions for income and for job creation that are lasting and that are really impactful in improving livelihood over a long term. And maybe one additional thing in terms of what we can do better, actually, than European companies, is really for investors also to encourage startups to include metrics that are metric impact on their performance evaluation, because like that, you give a concrete incentive also to the founders to really take these matters seriously. And then if I had 10 million, I don't know. I actually think that through Gale, we will be fund additionally even more startups so that we can test additional use cases and making it even more impactful for the women in sub-Saharan Africa.
Great. So Richard, because you're holding the mic over there, AI is great at extracting insights, but only if it really has structure. So how would you invest that capital to build a kind of second-order data services that kind of improve the Mapper network?
So we already have Ella, which is such a great support, but perfecting that in a sense that our consumers are able to, beyond submitting data and making extra cash, they're able to use Ella for various other value-add services. Let's say I already mentioned, if someone wants to take an image of their pantry or the fridge, and they want to figure out either how to come up with a better budget, they should be able to do that. But also, more than that, it would be having a better naturalization around language processing to allow us localize the experience a little bit more. Because testing out with, let's say, if you're engaging with consumers in Nigeria, they would probably prefer Pidgin as opposed to typical, English engagements, as opposed to individuals, even in Kenya, where we interact with consumers who are either prompting in Swahili, but just perfecting that language processing to one that's close enough to what people generally use on a day-to-day basis. So there is value in that. But obviously, the other value would be increasing the network of consumers as well, because for us, there is a lot of value in having more consumers, interact with our platform, because that way we're generating as much data for our clients who are looking to track consumer behavior, patterns and trends, so they can use those to make better decisions for their market. Yeah.
Brilliant. And JB, if you were handed that money today to carve out a competitive BPO niche on the continent, where would you put it? And what proves that we're building these defensible, high-value, human-in-the-loop roles?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're asking me what type of BPO, as I said before, I think I would go more towards knowledge process outsourcing and cybersecurity, cloud engineering, that kind of thing. If I had $10 million to do something to increase jobs on the continent, I would put every last dime on demand generation, because there's been probably 2 billion, 3 billion, 7 billion, whatever over the last 10 years put on skilling, and the thought is, skill and the jobs will come. Hasn't really happened. And so I'd probably find those pockets of excellence that exist in Kigali, in Addis, in Cairo, and take specific companies that have service lines related to specific job families and bring them here. Because I think the proximity to demand, decreasing the distance between African talent and demand is actually the most critical issue in terms of creating jobs tomorrow, not like now. Not, there are things like investing into local operators, venture building that Jobtech Alliance does, that are fantastic. They're a little longer term, and of course you have to change pedagogy to align with AI and TVETs and in primary school. But if you really want to get some buzz going and get people hooked into the digital economy and AI, there's no better place, as I said, to be in workflows and work streams where AI is being operationalized. So yeah, it would be an interesting experiment, but yeah, that's where I would throw every last cent.
Great, thank you so much. So I think I'd like to thank those of you in the audience who've been dropping a few Q&A questions into Hoover. And I'm just going to go through and try and just an open mic for the remainder of our time for those. And I'll start with whoever wants to take the question. And this is from Joshua. AI might not kill all the jobs, but it's eroding those entry-level roles, to the traditional path to gaining experience. How do you think we can build future talent if that ladder disappears?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, one of the founders of, I think it's the company's called Bag, I don't know if he's in the room, but job simulations is one idea. So I think obviously AI can simulate many roles and pretend to be different kinds of people. So I think they're working on a sales role simulator. I definitely think that's one area. But I do also think AI, as I said, there might be less jobs out there. It doesn't mean there's going to be that much less work. And so I think what people need to figure out is what workflow are they going to be excellent at, and can they get early exposure to the AI systems that are delivering those workflows, and sit really close to those AI systems and see what good looks like and learn from it. I think everyone's going to have to be more entrepreneurial with the way they go after work, and in some respects, I think Africa has a benefit there. Africa's used to being entrepreneurial to try and get work. Africa's used to being freelance and fractional. And so that's one way that I think the continent is ahead. Whereas, let's say in the US, people are much more used to saying, let's apply for jobs and get a job, and if I don't get a job, I will be unemployed. I don't think that linear logic is as ingrained in Africa, and I think that's healthy.
Going down the list here, I think as people in the room and stakeholders in the Jobtech ecosystem, what frameworks and experiments do you think we can put into place once we leave this room to ensure that we all grow together with AI in the rest of the year?
I'm happy to go again. I said it earlier, and it was kind of a joke, but to be an AI expert right now, in my mind, of course you can go out and learn the technology. You can go get a PhD in machine learning. You can go and try and understand how OpenAI has trained its LLMs. You can do that. I don't think that's necessarily what you need to do. What you need to know is, how is AI changing workflows? I'm being a stuck record on that. You just need to understand how AI is changing the business models that you live in. And that's just about reading and thinking and being engaged and talking to friends and competitors. And so I don't think it's actually, at least I had this a while ago where I felt like learning about AI was a huge thing, like a journey, like I had to climb Everest to become an expert at AI. But you just start learning and you try to ask yourself the most interesting question you can. For me, it was, how will AI change outsourcing? And that was actually a question that I wanted to read about. It wasn't like, how do LLMs work, which is a question I didn't want to read about. So for all of you, like, what is the question that you want to read about that'll force you into the AI literature? And once you're in, I think you'll find it actually just sucks you in. Actually, LinkedIn is now just like full of FOMO and people, making unicorns with 3 people. But if you can handle that, I think you'll find yourself exposed to really interesting ideas. And then the one just sort of fun idea I think that some organizations should do is give people what I would call an AI sabbatical, which is, you get 30 days off work, but you have to come back with an AI solution that we can systemically put into our company that's relevant to your job. What I've found at Robin is one of the biggest challenges we have is the client wants AI, they want Robin to help, but then they give us 0 of their time because they're too busy doing the day job, and they're too busy doing the job that AI could help them do. And so I think managers and CEOs need to think about how to give their employees space to get away from the day-to-day to embed AI into their organization.
Bill?
One thing I wanted to add is that for the builders, I think it's really key to build LLMs based on contextualized data. And as I was mentioning before, like even using like a compensation towards the people you are tackling so that they can give you like insights in terms of data and in terms of like what is the best representative data that you can use to address them and correct every bias is actually what will also bring like additional income for the company itself, because a better LLM creates actually adoption, and better adoption creates additional revenue. And at the same time, you also empower those people in terms of exactly not only seeing them as end users, but also as co-creator for ultimately an app that you want to address to them.
Yeah, I think that something that has worked for us is to keep testing, but as rapid as you possibly can, because, like I mentioned in the beginning, they're releasing new models every week. You want to be pushing out as many changes as possible, and eventually you'll find like a balance of, what works for whether it's consumers or customers, because we're seeing that change the way we interact with our consumers, or even design for our consumers with our clients in mind, so that way we kind of like don't have a skewed balance or interaction between the consumers and what our clients are expecting. So testing as much as possible, but also releasing as fast as possible so that you're not just building and you have all these things built but never produced anywhere,
Great. Yeah. So I think that's all we've got time for today. I'm getting the eye from the corner of the room. So I'd like to thank all of you, and especially to the great panelists for sharing, and please come and ask them as many questions as you want afterwards. And we'll pass on to whatever's the next panel. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. And thank you to the panel. Please, let's give them another round of applause.